Senator Tillis.
Chairman, I think Senator Blackburn goes before me, or Senator Welch. I appreciate the opportunity, but.
Thank you, Senator Tillis. It's Senator Welch is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank all the witnesses. I'm sitting in a seat that was previously occupied by Senator Leahy, who is a champion of civil liberties and a strong supporter of law enforcement, his own prosecution background. But he, and with the great support of Vermonters, very much was concerned about the civil liberty questions that are raised. And I've heard from all of the witnesses, you share that concern. And I certainly do. What Chairman Durbin said in his opening remarks in expressing his very serious concern about the extraordinary breaches, I share that. So a couple of things. One, Senator Cornyn had asked about codifying in statute reforms that have been made. In my understanding, I think this goes to you, Mr. Olsen, is that you would be supportive of any of the reforms that have been made to date being codified in statute, so it wasn't another episode of trust me and we'll try to get it right?
No, I think that's exactly as the deputy director said. I mean, the fundamental point is we are open to engaging on reforms and implementing reforms that don't undermine the essential effectiveness of Section 702. Certainly,
but codifying them.
And among those would be putting in statute where it makes sense to do so some of the changes that the FBI has implemented on its own to ensure compliance.
I just want to make certain that we're on the same page here, because it's one thing to say, trust us, we've learned and we'll be good in the future. It's another thing to have the force of law behind it. Second
if I may
thing,
just say, I'm being a little, I'm hesitating only because as the lawyer here next to Mr. Obeyed, I just want to make sure that, we'd want to make sure that the language in any statute is appropriate,
no,
of course.
that goes without saying.
Yep.
Now, another thing, I know Senator Leahy and Senator Lee, I'm sorry. Okay, Senator Leahy and Senator Lee worked on an amicus amendment, as I understand it. Senator Lee, and by the way, he very much appreciated working with you on that, he's told me. My understanding is you're resistant to that, you're saying for practical reasons. But keep in mind, I think the motivation Senator Leahy had, I'll speak for my conversation with him, and I've heard Senator Lee express it, the interest of maintaining Fourth Amendment protections for citizens is constitutional and inviolate. So I would expect to advocate for that again. You answered the question, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. You know, the heart of this is this question of whether there is an exception on the warrant protection when a U.S. citizen gets swept into this. And I know Mr. Ossoff asked in my absence about the warrant protection, but I am wanting to go back on that. Why can't we have a warrant when it does involve a U.S. citizen? And can you make distinctions between a situation where there's imminent urgency, and obviously that requires a different kind of action, versus those situations where information comes up, my telephone number is on a telephone that's been captured on the battlefield, but there's no urgent matter that has to proceed with action. What's the problem with providing a continuation of the warrant protection that is available to all U.S. citizens outside of FISA?
So maybe Mr. Fonzone might have more to add to this, but let me just say, stepping back, so it's really important for me to be clear that when it comes to the targeting decision, the initial decision to target, that is outside of the Fourth Amendment because the targeting decisions are focused on non-U.S. persons overseas. It's only when the FBI receives...
No, I understand that.
Yeah, it's only 3% of all of the 702 collection that FBI has access to, where it's related to an open FBI investigation. So they have 3% of the lawfully collected information, and it's very common rather than rare that the need to search that data, whether it's an ongoing cyber attack, for example, or an espionage effort, that it is not a degree of urgency to quickly be able to say, at the very earliest stage of an investigation, we need to understand, is this technical identifier associated with this cyber attack? Is this hitting other, hospitals or
and
energy
my,
companies.
My time is coming up, and we'll have to, there's real practical questions here, but I go back to this absolutely astonishing situation where folks who showed up here in Washington, it was totally domestic, or Black Lives Matter, totally domestic, were searched. And like, how in the world did that happen? Somebody just felt like doing it, or what? I know my time is up, so I'm going to have to stop, but I just want to convey my ongoing concerns, which I think many of the committee members share. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Thanks, Senator Welch. Senator Blackburn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.